Hi, I'm Reynolds Foster with SoundHorse, and today we're going to put a treatment plate on a Morrison Series 1. So what I like to do first, I like to plan where I'm going to put my screws, depending on what I need to do to the shoe. Like if I needed to cut a space away for better access to whatever abscess or whatever's going on with the foot. We're just going to do the standard placement today. I usually like to place them a little bit, two at the quarters and two a little bit farther back at the heel. That way you get a nice stable plate on there. So what I first like to do, where I want to put those, I like to mark, center punch, to give the bit somewhere to grab when I go ahead and start drilling my holes. So then we're going to drill our pilot holes for our plate with a number 5 bit. This bit's a little bit smaller than the size screw that we're going to use when we go ahead and run back through with our tap. So I've got my holes drilled. Just kind of countersink those holes just a little bit. That'll make it easier when we go to put the screws in. It'll make it easier for the screws to find the threads. All right, so now I'm back over here at my workbench. I've got a pre-cut piece of aluminum here. It's a 3/16 diamond plate. This is kind of personal preference. You can use whatever you wanted to put on the bottom. We usually like to use 3/16 for most mid-size horses. If you're going up to a bigger warm blood foot, you can go up to 1/4 maybe. Just changes the size of screw you might want to use, the length of screw, or how far you want to countersink it. But I'm going to put my shoe on my plate, make sure that it fits. All right, so I'm back over here at my plate, and I got my vice grips. We're going to hold shoe in place while we go ahead and drill holes to fit our plate up. I've got it nice and tight there. All right, we're going to go back down through those holes that we drilled, 4 with the same size bit again. I'm drilling through our plate so we make sure that the holes all line up. One more thing that I like to do before I take the vice grips off, I like to take a horseshoe nail and just go around and trace the outline of my plate. And I can take this horseshoe nail makes a nice bright line on the outline of the plate. Kind of tells me where I need to cut stuff off. So now we put the shoe off to the side. That's my plate. What we've got to finish up doing, we've got to drill the hole out. We've got to drill these holes out with a 1/4 inch bit. That's the thickness of the screws that we're going to be using. And we've got to countersink. And then you can also go ahead and remove all this stuff outside of your mark. And then we'll move on to tapping the shoe. So here we're drilling. With our 1/4 inch bit to just open those holes up a little bit more. Now we didn't want to do this with the shoe because then we wouldn't have anywhere for the threads to go in the shoe. And we're going to come over here, go ahead and countersink. So now we can either finish tapping the shoe and put this plate on, and then grind it down, or we can finish grind into our mark here, and do that and finish fitting it up a little bit later. So now we're back over here with our shoe. Remember, we don't have any threads in these holes yet, and that's what we're going to do with this. We got a little tap socket here and an impact drill. If you're going to do it like this, you want to make sure you hold the shoe in your hand. You don't want to put it in a vise or something, because that way your hand is taking some of the shock out. That way you don't worry if something happens with the tap. You're less likely to snap that tap off in the shoe. But just going to run it in, back it out. All right. Now we got threads in our holes. We're going to take our impact. Obviously, we're not going crazy with our impact. Now we've got a treatment plate on our shoe, and the Morrisons have that little bit of roller motion, and that's one of the downsides about putting a treatment plate on a Morrison is you're kind of taking away a little bit of the roller motion. But what you can do is come over to the anvil. All I did was kind of close down that gap a little bit. So now I've got a little bit of that roller motion back into it. You could, if you wanted to, you could grind a little bit of relief back into that if you wanted to, but we're just going to leave this as it is. This is a demo. But there's your completed treatment plate.